The next set of books I got just last week. There's another used bookstore in our area that was moving. The place that she was at was increasing her rent or wanted her out, so she found a new location, and this week has been packing books to move to the new location. So she had every book in her place half price. Can't go wrong with that. So we did a stop by. I was specifically looking for Robin Hobb, Royal Assassin, or any Hobb books. I read Assassin's Apprentice in July and ordered it from my library in August. It's now noted as lost or destroyed, and I cannot get my hands on a copy. Right now, I would get my hands on any kind of copy. Doesn't even have to be brand new, hardback. It could be mass paperback. I just want to read the book. Bookish Chaz has read the book and tells me how amazing it is, and he teased me a lot. He almost made me cry. It's not nice, and I really want to read this book. And I haven't got my hands on it. I'm almost ready to break down and buy a brand new one. That's where I'm at. I just wanted to continue going on with the series because I loved Assassin's Apprentice so much, and I've been stalled. I've been massively stalled. So anyway, went to the store, had no Hobb. I was disappointed, but I still got some amazing books. First book, 1965. This book was written by Robert Louis Stevenson, or maybe it wasn't written, but like this is when it was printed in 1965. I got it for $2.50. I like the cover. It's very old school, and on the back it says, "In the days of the War of the Roses, treason and treachery faced Dick Shelton at every turn in his search for his father's murderer. Befriended by the outlaws of the vengeful Black Arrows, he and his mysterious friends Matcham escape, are captured, and escape again. Dick himself becomes a leader of the outlaw band and casts his lot with the fearless, fiery Dick Crookback, who became Richard III." So, and it even has some drawings. Oops, let's get this to focus. And it just looked like a Robin Hood-esque. You ever seen, what's that Danny Kaye movie where he's a jester? The Court Jester, I think is the name of it. Putting the name down there. It just looked fun, and I had never heard of this book by Robert Louis Stevenson, and I was like, let's add this to my Stevenson collection. So I did. Jim Butcher, the Dresden Files. Golly, Mona Lisa, you're doing well today. Jim Butcher, Dresden Files. I've heard lots of people talking about Dresden Files and the Jim Butcher series and how great it is. I have been warned that Dresden is kind of a male chauvinistic at the beginning, but he kind of mellows out into the first few books. So I may really not like his attitude towards females at the beginning, but that it does get better. And I've been wanting to read the Dresden Files, or at least get started on them, for quite some time. So this, for $1.50, because there's $3. Yeah, $1.50. Not bad. And it's in really good condition. It's a little bent here at the top, but otherwise it's in, oh, and the little corner is whatever. But it's really good. Can't complain about that one. Classic Jane Eyre. I am so happy to have gotten this copy. It's just a really simple, very small writing copy. This book, if you don't know, by Charlotte Bronte, Jane Eyre. It's a great classic. Oh, introduction and notes by Sarah Ostrov-Weiser. Okay, so we'll have to see what she has to say. I do want to eventually get a really nice hardback cover of Jane Eyre, but it's been a while since I've read Jane Eyre, and I wanted to reread it, but I also want to reread it, give it a little time, a few months, and then reread it and annotate it with notes. And I may just put in some notes along the way when I first do my reread, but I just kind of want to get my head back into the Jane Eyre and just kind of enjoy the story before really kind of analyzing it. I don't know that I'll go heavy into the analyzing with the annotation stuff. We'll just have to see what I'm kind of picking. But I know Jane Eyre, some people hate this book. Almost took out an eye. Thank God for last call. Leave, this is such a weird video. You're starting to see more of the real me. The clumsy, weird, I like to talk a lot, Mona Lisa. Anyway, I know not Jane Eyre is not everybody's cup of tea, and I understand that. Not everybody likes the same things. I enjoyed this book, and I've watched some different movie adaptations of it, and I don't know. I did watch one adaptation when I was still single. It's like, oh, but he loves her so much, and I want that, and so I think maybe that's why I have some nostalgia with the movie, at least, because it was a time when I was single, and I kind of made up my mind that I was never gonna get married. And I was just like, oh, I'm so glad Jane found somebody. Yay for her. So I think that's part of what plays in my head when I, now that I think about it. So Jane Eyre, Charlotte Bronte, good book. It's okay if you don't love it. Sorry for the noise there. John Creasley, Death of a Postman. I know this is not the first book in the series, but it does say it's about the famed Scotland Yard Inspector Roger Handsome West is an extremely real and living person who brings warmth and humanity, as well as brilliant police work to his cases. Death of a Postman is an exciting novel of violent action, mystery, and suspense in which the solution of a series of bold daylight crimes hinges on the killing of a quiet male clerk. Okay, first off, when it talks about an exciting novel of violent action, I'm very interested to see what this violent action is going to be in this book, because I think it's going to be so mellow compared to what violence we see in movies and TV shows today. I think it's going to be quite mellow. But I think back then, of course, it would have been atrocious and extremely violent and whatnot. But today, when like movies where people are being cut up and stuff, like, to me, that's violent. This, I don't think it's going to be that violent. I've only heard of Death of a Postman. I would like to get my hands on some of these other books to kind of see. I'd like to read books in a series in order. So I'm going to see, even if I have to get them from the library or on Hoopla or Libby, to kind of read the series in order. But this was only a book, so I got it. These next few books, honestly, I know I've heard of Henry James, and there's 2 books in here, the Aspirin Papers and the Spoils of Poynton in here. They're short novels. I read about them and I'm like, oh, those sound interesting. I'm not going to reread it to tell you what they're about. If you want to know, look it up. Does that mean? I feel like this is going on forever and I still have another stack of books I'm going to show you. But I've heard of Henry James. I believe also from Emma the Bookish Princess, so it intrigued me. Wanted to read that. The late George Apley, I do know this is it won the Pulitzer Prize. It's by John P. Marquand. It's about Bostonian life and traditional bound gilded society. And that's kind of all I know about it without rereading the whole back. I don't know. I thought the cover intrigued me, like the stiffle men on the front, and again, it was $1. So I was like, sure, why not? I like reading older books. Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court by Mark Twain. There were other copies of this actually at the store, but I liked the cover. I just thought it was so funny with the little, and my left arm shakes a lot, so let's see what we can do here. There we go. I just thought the knight looked like a little goofy man on top of a horse riding along. And just use Peterson's prophylactic toothbrush all the go. I just thought it was a cute cover out of the other ones that I've ever seen, and it's a book that I have had on my TBR, so I think we'll see if I like it or not. That's kind of all I have on that one. If you hear noises, Leia's back. So this one, Girl in Disguise by, let's see, by Greer McAllister. Cover by, total cover by. I saw it sitting there, and I was like, that's kind of a cool cover. I like the colors. I like the train. I do know by reading about it that it's a woman and she's a widow, and to kind of help herself out, she goes to police or something and goes undercover. She's caught up in a mystery. That's all I know. That's all. Another author that I've been wanting to get more into, or at least see if I would like, is Michael Crichton. I got this one for $4. Not bad. Pretty pristine condition as well. There was somewhere on here, it was a little dinged. Obviously not that dinged up if I can't find it. It's a little bit right here, but no big deal. Brand spanking new, Andromeda Evolution. I think there's a book that comes before this one, like the Andromeda strain. Does that come before this one? I have absolutely no idea, but I will find out before I read this. And they also had Jurassic Park. I've never read Jurassic Park. I want to read Jurassic Park, and they had a copy there, but it was pretty. It wasn't completely dinged up, but it was dinged up more than I wanted for the money I would have spent for it. It was still only been $4, but I don't know. I'm kind of picky-ish, like with newer. Anyway, I'm gonna keep going. Anyways, Michael Crichton, Andromeda Evolution. I am eager to read this one. Don't know when I'm gonna get around to it, but $4 for like brand new. Couldn't really beat it. So, okay, one more. Okay, I'm just gonna point these out real quick. Until Tomorrow, Mr. Marsworth, The Vanderbeekers to the Rescue, Vanderbeekers and the Hidden Garden, and The Train to Impossible Places. I know you can't see them very well, but all of these books, along with Stonebird, if you saw my October TBR, Stonebird is on my tentative plan. So if I don't get it to this month, I'm going to leave it for middle grade March. These books I've all recently bought. To the Impossible Places and one of the Vanderbeekers I got at the Book Warehouse, which is now a calendar store. I'm excited to read those. All of those books are recent purchases in the last 6 months, and those books will all be on my middle grade March MDR. I learned the word MBR yesterday. Might be read. That is what I'm doing from now on. MBRs, no more TBRs for this person, because reality is it's more going to be like, do I find the time to read all these books that I said I'm going to read this month? Which is more than likely going to be no. So, MBR. Yeah. So my MBR for the month of March, middle grade March. Okay, let me get my other stack and I'll be right back. One more stack and then we're done, I promise. But I'm super excited about this stack of books. And they've come from different stores that are not all just from the same book, but I've combined them together because they're all Agatha Christie books. I love Agatha Christie. I came across and read And Then There Were None many years ago now, and fell in love with Agatha Christie. That book blew my mind. I did not figure out who done it, how they did it. Totally. And so ever since then, I've been a huge Agatha Christie fan. I was collecting her books in hardback, and then my brother bought some at a thrift store, and they had like the old classic, you know, like the, let's see, um, uh, no, where is it? Like the, this, you know, like the old school drawn covers. The ones from the 1970 covers, not so much excited about, but I just liked the feel of them, like the 1950s and 60s. I really liked them, and so I stopped collecting the hardbacks. I ain't gone very far in that, and I've been looking for the older paperback copies of her books. And I have quite the collection. I'll show it to you at some point. I'll do a whole Agatha Christie collection video at some point here. Maybe soon if you're interested. I can do it sooner rather than later. But I've been able to find some really cool Agatha Christie books recently that I'm going to share. First book up by Agatha Christie Mallowan. Yes, Mallowan. If you don't know, Mallowan is the last name of Agatha Christie's second husband, who was actually an archaeologist. He did a lot of digs in Iraq, and that's where some of her inspiration for some of her books actually came from, like Death on the Nile. I don't remember any others, but I'll put them down here. And so, yeah, little Agatha Christie information. This is just a little story about, like, a Christmas story about Mrs. Hargraves and Eyes Being Open to Love. Don't know much about it. Apparently there's also some other short stories and poems in this book as well. I don't know much about it except that Agatha Christie wrote it, and I'm probably going to be reading this at Christmas time this year as part of my holiday reading. So there's that one. Next one is What Mrs. McGillicuddy Saw. This original title was 450 from Paddington. So some of the titles were changed for various reasons, like And Then There Were None was originally 10 Little Indians, as you can guess. That did not go over well, so it was changed to And Then There Were None. I don't know why this one was changed from the original title. Murder on a Train. Mrs. McGillicuddy Saw It. This is this cover. You're starting to push my boundaries of what I like in a cover. Like these faces, like the faces, I'm not too keen on. I still like, this isn't the worst cover I've seen. There's some that I dislike more, but you're starting to push the boundaries of my like. But there's that book. This is more a Agatha Christie book cover that I enjoy. This one is By the Pricking of My Thumbs. It's a mystery. Old Mrs. Lancaster had been whisked to most mysteriously from her nursing home by relatives who gave no forwarding address. Tommy and Tuppence, that's part of, there's like 5 books in the Tommy and Tuppence series. Detectives team extraordinaire thought to look into it. The least they could do for a fellow senior citizen. So this is part of the Tommy and Tuppence series. I'm not sure where in the series this book is, but I do know that this was one that I didn't have. So I was super, super excited to find this one. And like I said, this cover, I mean, it has faces on it, but it has other elements to it. And it doesn't look like 1970s. That's the era, like I was born in the 70s. But thank God I grew up in the 80s, because like the 70s to me, I don't know, they weren't good. I don't like most of the clothing. I don't like most of the music. I definitely don't like most of their book covers. Very few movies I found from the 70s that I enjoy. I'm just, yeah. So this is a book cover. Not my favorite, but I like this one. And I find it interesting, the little Raggedy Ann doll on the side. I had a Raggedy Ann doll when I was a little girl, and I still have a pillow. I believe I had a doll, but I have a pillow that was made for me, and it has Raggedy Ann and Andy on it. So that brings, you know, I like it. So this book and the next book, our local library has a bookstore where books are donated, and the books that the library, our local library system, are getting rid of, you can go and purchase very cheap. Like paperbacks, I think, are $1. Hardbacks are $1.50, something like that. Anyway, we like going there quite often. That's where I get a lot of my books. This was there a week or two ago when we went, and this has 50 stories about Hercule Poirot by Agatha Christie. And honestly, I had never heard, I read through all the titles because they're all on the back. I had never heard of any of these. So when I found it, it was an instant buy for me because I'm like, absolutely gonna get it. Why wouldn't I get it when I'm such a huge Agatha Christie fan? It's kind of amazing because I've read her biography, and I've done a lot of looking into her life, and I've read a couple books on her, and yet I come across a book like that and I'm like, how did I not know about this? So I'm always amazed. Another book, The Woman and Her Mysteries by Gillian Gill. I believe this has a little bit, it kind of, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe this kind of looks a little bit into that, I believe it was 10-day period where Agatha went missing. She never talked about it. She kind of hints about it in her biography, but you really don't get any details as to what was happening. If you don't know about that, she was married to Mr. Christie, I forget his first name, and he was having an affair and basically said he wanted a divorce. She went a little cray-cray, and she disappeared for like 10 days. They found her vehicle, but they didn't know where she was, and she ended up being found at an inn or a hotel, and she didn't really remember her name at first, and she was under a different name. And she never discussed like what happened in those 10 days and why did she disappear. It keeps reflecting, so I'm going to stop. Why she disappeared and everything. So her disappearance is still a mystery to this day. As far as I've been able to find, no letters, no diary, no nothing has popped up to explain why she disappeared and was she there the whole 10 days and what she did or anything. So I know this book looks a little bit into it, but it has something to do with Agatha Christie and her disappearance and possibly more, and so I'm all for it. Now, these books are like gold to me. I am so excited to have found these books, and I did find them at the local library bookstore. And I always go, there's one section where like the mysteries are, like her paperback, like the paperbacks are, because the hardbacks are in a different section. I go to the paperbacks and I'm always looking for the Agatha Christie, and I have a list printed out of the ones that I don't have yet, and these were there. But they should not have been where they were. They should have been in a different section. These are also by Agatha Christie, but do you know something else that you notice with her name? Agatha Christie writing under the name Mary Westmacott. Yes, most people do not know, unless you're an Agatha Christie fan, do not know that she wrote under the name Mary Westmacott. And I found it, I'm so excited. They were right there. Like I said, they're not mysteries. They should have been in the mystery section with pricking her thumb, or pricking of my thumbs. It should have been actually in a different area. And so when I saw him, I immediately grabbed him. Like, no choice. There's only 4 books written under the name Mary Westmacott. I got my very first Mary Westmacott. There was a gentleman a couple of hours away who was selling like 20 plus Agatha Christie books in the paperbacks that I like. And my husband and I made a day trip out of it, and we went and picked him up. And so as I was going through the books, one of them was Mary Westmacott. I was like I was so beside myself. I was so excited. And then the bookstore where I got the big book with the women, the letters of women with the stamps on the front. I got my second Mary Westmacott book, and I'm like, I got 2 of the 4, yes. And then last week or 2, I went into our library bookstore, and I found the last 2. I'm so excited. I have all 4 now. You know how some people get excited over finding like a book that they've been looking for forever, and they're just over the top giddy, or like a signed or first edition or whatever. I kind of feel like that's this for me. These are not easy to find, and it's interesting when you go talk to used bookstore owners and you mention the name. Like, have you ever heard of Mary Westmacott? I've only had one bookstore owner, and that was the one where I just got all the more recent books. She had heard of Mary Westmacott, but she had never seen any of the Mary Westmacott books ever come through her store. But I've talked to several different bookstore owners, and they've never heard of Mary Westmacott. It's just something that's not well known. So to find these 2 same day in a section that they should not have been, but I know the person put them in the mystery section because they saw Agatha Christie. Oh, mystery. I'm over the moon excited about these. It's ridiculous how excited I am about this. Anyways, like I said, these are not mystery. They have been put under the romance title, but they're not romance either. And I actually recently read something from her daughter saying that people put them as romance, but these books aren't romance. They're more about like the looking at man and just who they are, and it's a study of the human condition. So I'm interested. I'm so excited to get into these books and really see what they are about. They may have some romance in them. I'm not sure, but these, I'm telling you, are just. I'm gushing. I need to stop gushing. I'm just so stinking excited about it. It really just. I was excited about when I got him, and then like I put him, on my shelf, and I kind of just walked away. But now I'm looking and I'm talking about him, and I'm so excited again. Okay, so that is my book haul. Like I said, there are a few more books I see up here that I've gotten, but I've covered really big ones that are more well known and some that aren't as well known. But the ones I'm more excited about, I mean, the other ones on here, yeah, I'm interested to read, but I'm not like super excited about it, so, I'll talk about them later. My book haul, I'm done. Now I have to go edit it. I can do it. I can do this. Totally not a problem. So, anyway, I would like to know, what books have you recently purchased, or maybe if you're on a book buying ban, or you just typically don't buy a lot of books for whatever reason you have. I want to know, are you borrowing books from the library, or maybe it's Libby or Hoopla? Which ones have you found recently that just gets you super excited and stupid giddy? I would love to hear about any books like that you have. Maybe you even bought it 10 years ago, and when you pick it up or you look at it or you think about it, it makes you happy. So let me know in the comments below, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching. If you wouldn't mind liking this video, if you did like it, I would love to hear from you. Like I said, what book makes you stupid giddy, or what book did you get in a recent book haul that you're excited about? And if you would love to see more from me, I would love it if you would subscribe. Thank you so much for your time. I know you can watch somebody else. You can spend your time in different ways. So it really does mean a lot to me that you spent your time with me here today. Until the next time, I will see you later. Go enjoy a good book.